Today on the Sean and Bo Show, do the 49ers players hate Harbaugh? Deion Sanders seems to think so.
Also, Terezowens.com will be joining us to talk about Olympic golden boy Michael Phelps getting a DUI, expired beer, and is Johnny Football finally wising up?
Plus, now that the NFL is in full swing, we'll debut a brand new segment where I will shame Bo in making NFL picks. It's all coming up on the Sean and Bo Show. Hey, what's up, everybody? Back once again. Welcome. It's episode 22 of the Sean and Bo Show, and it's a big show, Bo. We got a ton to get to, but before we get into the national sports stories that we're going to goof on, and we have a great guest coming up also, I have to congratulate you, Bo, and many people outside Albuquerque probably don't know about this, but Bo joined the coaching staff at Albuquerque High this year, and they just snapped a 43-game losing streak. So congratulations to those kids. Congratulations to you, Bo. Great job there, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and so do those kids.
And I also have to congratulate you about a certain bet we might have made.
Just put it on my tab. Just take it off my tab.
Yeah, Bo's Cowboys won. Blew them out. I owe him $20. It's a crying shame. But
the only reason he's not upset, people, is because you've seen what happened with his team last night. If he would have got drummed by New England Patriots, he'd be over here crying. But
no,
he's happy right now.
I'm a happy man. As Bo texted me during the Cowboys beatdown, he said it was like a combination of Christmas morning and the birth of his children all kind of round up into one. So
it was glorious.
That should tell you what kind of fan Bo is. It was a good day in the Bo household for sure.
Yes, it was.
Now, we talked about this in plenty of previous episodes, but an update to the Washington Redskins name change scandal. The FCC, as of this afternoon, is saying that they are going to make a ruling on the Redskins name change.
Wow.
This is an article from CNBC that says the FCC, which enforces broadcast indecency violations, has received a petition from legal activist John Benshoff III, asking that regulators strip local radio station WWXX-FM of its broadcasting license when it comes to renewal for using the name Redskins. So this guy that started the petition said that the use of the word Redskins is akin to broadcasting obscenity, and the FCC chairman, Tom Wheeler, went on to say, we'll be looking at that petition, we'll be dealing with that issue on the merits, and we'll be responding accordingly. He went on to say, there are a lot of names and descriptions that were used over time that are inappropriate today, and I think the name that is attributed to the Washington Football Club is one of these. Now, that's extremely powerful statement for the chairman of the FCC to already kind of tell us where he's coming from on that issue. So if this happens, this could put even more pressure on Daniel Snyder to make a change with the name. Certainly if you're losing broadcasting rights, I mean, he already lost the copyright to the name, as we saw in last week's hilarious South Park. So this could be really what puts the name change over the edge, where it's just going to have to happen.
I applaud the attorneys, whoever was the people behind it. I always envision guys who fight the good battle as far as legal teams go. They're kind of like offensive linemen in football. You're never really going to know their names, and they're out down there doing the gritty work. And it kind of reminds me of how you can almost relate it to how they fought civil rights for years. People would tell them, no, we're not going to respect that. Our state doesn't recognize those rules. But it said, well, if you want federal funding, you're going to have to abide by these rules. I like it because when you start hurting pocketbooks, taking away naming rights and all that good stuff, you're going to get something done.
Now, as if we weren't already infuriated with Daniel Snyder and the Redskins for this whole fiasco and for him just being extremely stubborn in the face of a lot of public pressure, I've got an even bigger issue with this, Bo. It's something that's near and dear to both of our hearts. I don't know if you heard the story, but we're going to bring in an expert on this. He's one of the two founders of the world's most popular sports gossip blog. He's Joey from Terezowens.com. Joey, how are you doing this evening, sir? Thank you for joining us.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Now, the story, the fiasco, the travesty of justice that I'm speaking of, is a matter of them peddling expired Budweiser at FedEx Field.
It's done every day.
Joey, tell us what you know about this story.
Yeah, they were. Some guy posted on Twitter that they were selling FIFA World Cup Brazil beer at the Redskins Giants game. I think it was Thursday night.
Right.
Yeah, following Thursday, and everybody kind of dug into it. Anheuser-Busch. There was pictures of the label. I think it was like June 2014, so it was expired. Anheuser-Busch, they refused to comment, but like you guys just said, I think this is something that happens all the time.
Well, you go to a stadium, you're already getting absolutely bled dry for a beer.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying the $14, $12, whatever it is for a beer. I think the expectation as a fan should be that it's at least fresh. It's at least, not skunky, for lack of a better term. But I'll tell you what, Washington, D.C. residents, Bo and I are podcasters of and for the people. So we are offering this bit of public service. Hand over the Budweiser. We will make sure that it's taken care of and disposed of properly. No questions asked. I think it's a fair compromise.
And I have to get this out there. As you know, I worked for Premier Distribution here in Albuquerque for a little bit. They will take beer from one stadium, move it across town, and get it ready for a Rihanna concert. And if that beer doesn't all get drank, we'll throw it back into the back of a semi with a cooler on it. We'll go sit it back in the fridge at the warehouse. And then when somebody else says they need 8 kegs, we'll throw it in that batch too. It goes on all the time. I always tell people this. You need to be wise to your beer taste buds. If that thing tastes a little skunky, it's going to hurt your stomach.
Yeah, no joke there. We're joined by one of the founders of the world's most popular sports gossip blog, Terezowens.com, TerezOwens.com, at Terezowens on Twitter. And speaking of beer, Michael Phelps making some headlines again for doing something that he's done in the past, except this time it did involve a bong. Exactly what happened to Mr. Phelps?
Yeah, he was arrested for alleged DUI. He was taken into custody in Maryland for driving under the influence. It's his second DUI arrest. In 2004, he struck a deal for 18 months probation. I don't know, swim hard, party hard. I feel like, he's our most decorated Olympian, which is kind of weird because they get to swim so many different ways. It's not like we get to run 19 different ways. So that's a little weird to begin with. But, 2 DUIs, it's like these guys got to learn, man. What's up? There's no Uber in Maryland?
Exactly. I mean, Bo and I are not rich gold medalists, and yet we have the sense to get a ride. You figure that somebody who's made millions of dollars off of endorsing cereal and other products, probably has the extra pocket change to go ahead and call a cab or Lyft or Uber or something. We're just sitting here right now, Joey, looking at Michael Phelps'
hilarious
mugshot from this. I mean, did he get drunk and then fall asleep? He's got like bed head. He looks all disheveled, unshaven.
That's actually his old mugshot. His new one has not been released yet, but that's the one when he was 19.
Okay.
And you know what? He almost looks like he's got Eli Manning face in that picture.
I'm sorry.
That's about right. Really.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe he was drinking that beer that the Redskins were distributing out in Maryland.
Bitter beer face.
That's exactly what happened there. Speaking of somebody that is, maybe wising up just a little bit in his old age, Johnny Football might be growing up a little bit. Now, you were telling me earlier, Joey, that he attended the Texas A&M game, and I was like, well, why am I not seeing pictures all over the place? What happened there?
Yeah, we saw some pictures of him on the field with his mom and his dad, and he was celebrating the Aggies, I think, overtime win, and it was at Jerry's World. And you didn't see the typical club picture or beers crazy, but we did get a tip from a girl who took a picture of him at lunch, and she actually had went up to his entourage or whoever was with him and asked if she'd get a picture, and he said no. So, hey, you know what? The kid's starting to learn. Maybe it all it took was just a little bench time.
To a lady, no doubt. That's real maturity that I wouldn't expect out of Johnny Football.
Yeah,
She probably wasn't hot.
And I was going to ask you this, Terez. You seem to deal in this. I follow you on Twitter. I love the tweets and everything you send out. When you're dealing with these guys like the Johnny Manziels of the world and they want to be, all out there on the sideline. Did he have some chewing tobacco in his mouth, Terez? Did you notice that too? Did you see him?
I've seen that before, and people have sent me stuff like that before, but it's one of those kind of things where you can't really call them out because I've never had anything totally for it, and he's of age to do that. But yeah, it's
Well, hey, I dabble in a little bit of the chewing tobacco. I'm a country boy myself, and I got a little bit of respect for him there. For a guy that runs with Drake and can handle his tobacco, I like that. But what I was going to ask you,
Runs with Drake. What is that?
yeah, that's a weird
cred?
combo.
he's got street cred and he's got country cred.
You just see him on a bull.
Yeah, there we go. That's what's next. PBR. Here comes Johnny Manziel. But what are you looking for a guy like that? What do you want him to do? I love you guys that pay attention to these celebrities, these sports athletes, and kind of put that TMZ twist on it. What does it take for him to change in your eyes and really grow up?
I think he was just kind of stubborn to his ways. I think, he was maybe spoiled in a certain way. Johnny Football, goes a long way, and he was just used to doing whatever he did. And when you're the face of a franchise and you're getting that first round money, you got to shape up. You can't be out there on a Wednesday having a beer at lunch in Cleveland. You're now the face. I mean, I feel like Colin Kaepernick is like the perfect example. Like, they just gave this guy $20 million, and I feel like Colin Kaepernick has all the talent in the world, but like, you just look at his Instagram and you can tell what type of person he is. It's like his picture to selfie ratio is like insane.
Yeah.
It's like there's not one picture of him in the playbook, or I feel like if the guy could do the ice bucket challenge every day, he would. You know what I mean?
Agree, Terez.
Now, this is a show on TV that we've watched for years, of course, and sort of what they've always done is they take their stories and they rip them from the headlines. And I guess this Wednesday night is no exception. Law and Order SVU is doing sort of a Ray Rice related episode. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's kind of a twist of their ball player accused of rape, the team covering it up. They show elevator footage.
The fictional ball player that they used had a great name, by the way. It was like nicknamed the Shark or something.
Oh,
like
gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I mean, they're trying pretty hard. The ratings must be down. I mean, like the elevator footage, and we're getting these stories sent to us from certain people there. So obviously they're figuring it out that hey, maybe we can include this and get some ratings. So I never watched the show,
right?
But maybe they're down in ratings right now. Who
Sports
knows?
fans love watching TV. It's not a dumb move, that's for sure.
It's true.
And so next week we can probably expect an episode involving a switch, correct?
Yeah, right. Child.
Now, this is a story that's developing and certainly going to continue throughout the week, and that is the fate of Brady Hoke, the Michigan coach. Really mishandled this entire concussion situation. He claimed he didn't notice that his backup quarterback was hit and concussed. He, of course, doesn't even wear headphones on the sideline. It's not like he's got a dozen coaches that are around him that could have told him. But now, last night at like 1 a.m., the athletic director released a statement, and that did even worse. Instead of letting a coach like Brady Hoke, who's already on the hot seat because of what he's done record-wise, the athletic director kind of attempts to get out in front of this. And now, as of this afternoon, I guess there was a big rally at the university of students that are now calling for him to be fired. Have you heard any updates on that?
I haven't heard any updates, but I did see some pictures on Twitter, and there was a pretty large gathering there. I mean, I just feel like nobody's on the same page there. Where's the leadership? The AD's kind of throwing, the quarterback saying that he hasn't talked to the coach. The coach is saying he's fine. I mean, after that hit, I understand the football tough is logic, and some of these coaches, need to switch up. But wow, man. I mean, if you can't see that,
what are you paying attention to? If
you're
not watching your quarterback,
that happens. That is so easy.
You trying to find a hot dog vendor?
No, you don't.
Trying to get an expired beer?
You don't watch everybody on the field. That's why you have so many coaches on football. I watch the D linemen. I have had kids break their leg in front of me, and I'm like, what happened? I didn't see that. Like, it can happen 5 feet in front of you, but if I'm only watching the feet of the 3 defensive linemen when the ball snapped to see if everybody's stepping and hitting their right gaps, you will not see a plane crash on the 50-yard line. I'm serious. And it is so easy to do. The only thing Hoke is going through is he's finding out that if you don't win at Michigan, and you don't win a lot, them people are going to run you out of town, buddy.
So now the latest on this is the president of the university basically came out and said, I don't have the quote in front of me, but he said, like, we didn't get this right. We apologize to, the quarterback in question's family, the students, et cetera, et cetera. So now even he is trying to step out in front of this bullet train. I think you're definitely going to see both the firing of Brady Hoke and the athletic director. It's pretty much a given at this point, Bo.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this, man. Last time Michigan was relevant, you know what happened in Detroit? The UAW got a raise. The University of Michigan was not winning football games because kids from rural Michigan were joining the Wolverines. They were winning football games because kids from D-Town were coming over there. And now that Detroit is the biggest crap hole in the world, not just America, it's the biggest hole in the world. You can't get a kid out of their public school system to come to that university because the schools are so jacked up.
Yeah, they just can't meet the standards.
That's why Michigan is a joke now. They don't have Detroit anymore.
It's the Sean and Bo Show. We are joined by one of the founders of Terezowens.com, Real Sports, Real Dirt. And Joey, you were telling me about this story earlier today when we were doing a little sound check here in the studio. We all know about the fappening, the release of all these celebrity pictures, Kate Hudson, Jennifer Lawrence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you had a little piece on Terezowens.com that people should check out. Somebody kind of did a funny twist on this whole scandal.
Yeah, they started a website called The Unfappening. And basically they took all the pictures and obviously some porn edits and stuff, and they've kind of made their own wardrobe onto them and covered them up. So it's pretty funny. It's a good look. If you have time, check it out. It's definitely worth a look.
It's like it's like one of the, you know what it reminds me of? Do you remember that toy from when we were little kids that was like Woolly Willy or whatever, where it's like the guy's face?
Yeah,
and you
LeBron James.
Basically, yeah. It's kind of a porn version of that. So definitely go over to Terezowens.com and check that out. Joey, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Great job, and you're certainly welcome back anytime.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys. Have a good day.
You have a good one, buddy.
Absolutely. Well, coming up on the Sean and Bo Show, my Chiefs did break the noise record, but were they cheating? I might surprise you with my complete lack of bias, Bo. Plus, later on in the show, we're going to get to Week 5 NFL picks and a whole lot more. It's all coming up on the Sean and Bo Show. Friends, thank you very much for listening to the Sean and Bo Show. This week, we're asking you to do us a favor and share the show on Facebook. Simply go to seanandboshow.podomatic.com and you'll see a little Facebook share button. Please do that favor for us. We depend on you for getting the word out about the show to your friends, coworkers, family, and everybody else on your Facebook. And while you're there at seanandboshow.podomatic.com, check out past episodes you might have missed, all of course, for free. The address again, seanandboshow.podomatic.com, and give us a share on Facebook.
Here we are again, ready for segment 2, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot wait to jump into this one because my man Sean, if you listen to the show religiously, which I know you do, he cannot stand the fact that there are tons of Chiefs fans that just go to the games to scream at the top of their lungs.
I don't mind it. No. See, no, don't get me wrong. I love having a loud stadium. I just think the Guinness record is stupid. It's like, be proud of your football team, not how much you can yell in the stands when you're drunk off expired beer. Come on.
Well, I thought it was funny because my buddy, my neighbor, he is a huge Chiefs fan. His garage is painted in Chiefs colors. His kids are brainwashed to the point to where if you ask them, they think that the Chiefs won every Super Bowl before
we have
anybody.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
He comes to me
Smart
right
man.
after the game. He says, "Bo, did you see that?" I'm like, "Yeah, Caesar. We crushed them." And guess what? I'm like, "What? We got the noise record back." I'm like, "Sean, you got to be excited about that one, buddy."
Okay, so here's my beef with it. Here's why I think that they might have been fudging some numbers, Bo. Much like the Richter scale for earthquakes, it's not linear. It's algorithmic, which
Okay.
means that like an earthquake that's a 5.0 isn't just a little bit more powerful than a 4.0. It's like it's more powerful by orders of magnitude. Okay.
Yes.
And that's exactly how decibels work too. So when you're talking about this noise record, the Chiefs beat it by like 5 decibels. Okay. That might not sound like a big difference between like 139 and 144 or whatever it was. But I saw this guy on Reddit with excellent analysis. This is, I'm going to give him some credit here, Nescentia, a Reddit user, has some Raiders flair, so I don't know if we can truly trust him or not. He could be an ex-con. But he was thinking that this whole thing was a little fishy. He said, quote, "I'm a certified occupational hearing conservationist. I do hearing conservation for OSHA and FRA regs as my career." Okay. So what he does is he takes decibel readings at like train tracks and other like really noisy places to make sure that the engineers aren't going deaf, basically.
Okay.
You know, it's an OSHA safety regulation.
Yeah.
Okay. And he went on to describe how it doesn't seem plausible at all. Quote, "As a lot of other people have mentioned, decibels are logarithmic, and the amount of energy doubles every 3 decibels. So the amount of energy you need to generate just 3 more decibels from a certain point, that more than doubles. So the fact that the Chiefs beat the old record by like 5+ decibels,
Okay.
whereas the Seahawks only beat the Chiefs record by like 0.1 decibel, that should tell you something.
Now, as from it, I'm going to bring the coaching standpoint into this. What you have on one side, you have the Seattle Seahawks. They have made this tremendous rise to glory. They have a Super Bowl now. Everybody looks to them as if they run the league. It's totally, I still wake up and pinch myself to make sure the Seahawks won a Super Bowl. On the other hand, you have the Kansas City Chiefs. Everybody's hungry. We won our Super Bowl. You went and got Andy Reid. We got Jamal Charles. Alex Smith is getting money. We got a defense over there that can stop anybody. And you guys go out and spank the 3-time Super Bowl champions and almost undefeated teams.
Right? We did do that.
You guys experience what happens in football whenever your team plays an undefeated school. You play the undefeated school so good that you're looking at your team like, guys, if we did that every week, we'd only have 1 loss. But it's human nature. We all get up for the big game. And I could see your fans, they're totally beside themselves last night, screaming as if they just got the Lombardi trophy dropped in Arrowhead.
Might as well have.
Yeah, there you go. And probably if we put the decibel reader at AT&T Stadium after that score that the Cowboys dropped on the Saints, we probably got close to the record.
Okay, so besides me rehashing the fact that I think this is a stupid record anyway, because I've talked about that on previous podcasts. I don't want to go back to that. But if we are going to keep doing this, which we will, this is going to go back and forth dozens of times throughout, the years. We need to adopt some standards and practices for this record, okay? And if you saw, like, whenever they do the decibel reading at the Seahawks Stadium or at Arrowhead, they use, it looks like one of those little, like, thermometers they use on children, and they just kind of like point it at the crowd. That makes no sense. You're taking the measurement from where the crowd is the loudest right in front of them.
Yeah.
If we're talking about what it actually does, gives you an advantage on the field when your defense is on the field. If that's the advantage, then shouldn't we be measuring it from the point at which players would actually hear it on the field?
Yeah. And you would think Guinness, of all people, they are so stringent. I'm into the land speed records. I think it's really cool when you make a car go the speed of sound or whatever. But they make you make, I think, 3 passes. You have to break the record on the first pass, duplicate it the second pass, and then do it a third time before they give you the official trophy for world's fastest car, whatever you do. It would seem something that decibel reading for NFL stadiums that call themselves the loudest, you would have a standard. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's just, it's dumb, and it's being done in a dumb way.
Yeah.
It's like double dumb. I don't like it. I don't like it. But I do like having a loud stadium, so it's a
like
catch
winning
too. Yeah, I sure do. Now, we were talking about the Chiefs blowing out the Patriots, and we're going to get some more NFL analysis in the third segment. But this statistic really caught my eye because even though we know the Patriots are having a down year, and even though we know Tom Brady doesn't look like the Tom Brady of old, I didn't think it was this bad. This statistic comes from Cecil Lammey of ESPN Denver. He says Tom Brady has completed only 43% of throws more than 5 yards this season. Second worst in the league behind the Bills' E.J. Manuel, who's now riding the pine.
Wow. I have been screaming for Tom Brady's head for a couple years, but I gave him the benefit of the doubt because of the injury and then the trades and people retiring. He lost a lot of his core group of guys. Now you take the offensive lineman from in front of him, and people like Jaws, your Steve Youngs of the world, your Monday morning quarterbacks, your analysts, They all say when you watch the tape, Tom Brady's eyes, when the ball snapped, go straight to the D lineman rushing him. He's not making his reads. He's not getting through his progressions. That's his fault. Why do you guys not sit there and say, well, Kirk Cousins was getting drilled in the face when he threw those 4 picks against the Giants. That's not his fault. They have a double standard. And this is the only way that I can put this out there. The Cowboys win their game. It's the running game's fault, right? It's not Romo who made them win that game, huh? Romo will never be given the credit that should go his way because he leads that team. They're always going to give it to somebody else. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, they're exempt from that. If they lose, it's everybody else's fault. If they win, they're the only reason they won.
You are a Romo apologist, Bo.
Oh my God!
How dare you? Now the other big story out of that Chiefs game was what a lot of people were calling on Twitter last night: flag in the end zone for being a Muslim. Now, what happened if you missed the game was that Hussein Abdullah got a pick six, kind of slid into the end zone, and immediately went down into a prostrated prayer stance that Muslims do, and was flagged for unsportsmanlike conduct. Now, today, the vice president of NFL football operations said, refs were wrong. This shouldn't have happened. He said, yeah, the rule is on the book that you can't go to your knees, but you can for religious reasons, okay? So I thought that this was kind of dumb. I think it's a dumb rule, and here's why. It's a slippery slope, okay? Mm-hmm. What happens if he's Buddhist? Is he allowed to sink down into the lotus position and just sit there? What if the guys are Rastafari? What are we going to let him do in the end zone? You know, so it's like not only that, but it puts this pressure on the referees to know the players' religions. I mean, what are they going to carry a spreadsheet with? No, you're Catholic. You can't do that. You can only do the sign of the cross. I mean, they have enough to do already. You know?
Heaven forbid we get a few of those snake handlers out there from the south. What are you going to do?
There's a serpent in the end zone.
Yeah, he's poisonous, but he will not bite me because I am infused with the power of the Holy Spirit. Go ahead, grab that snake and see what happens, buddy.
So my take on it is A, stupid rule. You know, B, he slid anyway before he did this. And so I thought it was kind of black and white. But I thought that when Hussein Abdullah was actually asked about this today, I've got so much more respect for the guy because of what he said. This is earlier today from KWCH, and it sounded like this.
Like you got, was there an explanation for the penalty when you?
Probably because I slid. I think I got a little too excited. I was, self-talk. I was like, if I get a pick, I'm a prostrate, prostrate before a guy in the end zone. And I think for me, I just got a little too excited. So I think it was because of slide.
Okay. So did they talk to you guys? Is that a rule change this year that you can't go to the ground like that?
I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure it's probably because of slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's a rule that you can't go to the ground, but you can kneel for something with religious purposes. But that's what you were doing, right? You were trying to do something religious, right?
I think I just got a little too excited. The slide before it, I'm pretty sure that did it.
So you slid on your knees like a soccer player slid right now? Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. Okay.
So I thought that was really cool. Like, he could have thrown the NFL under the bus. They already admitted they were wrong. He could have said, y'all are just persecuting me because I'm a Muslim and I'm not Tim Tebow. But he had the character to actually say, yeah, it was because I slid. It wasn't because I'm a Muslim.
I actually played college football with a few gentlemen that practiced the faith, the religion. They would actually go through the fast and everything. And I had so much respect for them because they would never use their religion or what they practice as a crutch. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, if I had to not eat for so many weeks.
And he did this also. In summer camp, he fasted.
And that's what I think. Like, yeah, these guys, like, I played football. One of the gentlemen, Hussein bin Bali, was a guy I played college football with. I was taking my son in for his checkups. He's a pediatrician now. I'm just like, you were doing this while we were playing college football, going to medical school? Like, blew my mind. And it really didn't blow my mind because he was very, like, just determined in everything he did, whether if it was we were coming up to fast, he had to fast and we had workouts going on. He never let that interfere with what was going on with practice. So with the way he handled that, you got to think Hussein Abdullah has more people listening to how he's going to react to that than anybody in the Christian world ever will. And I applaud him because he handled it like a man. He didn't try and make it about himself. He just said, hey, it's because I probably went to my knees, and I like that.
Yeah, very cool. And the other awesome thing about that game had nothing to do with the actual football being played. I think you might have missed this. You might have been out back or something, Bo. But if you've found yourself wanting to look a little bit better before you send women unsolicited naked pictures of yourself, well, Brett Favre has the answer for you in a brand new commercial, Bo.
Hi, I'm Brett Favre. Thinking back to all those years I played in the NFL, I was constantly in the spotlight and always perfectly groomed. But since I retired, I kind of let myself grow. Hair's gotten long, beard's a little scruffy, but now I'm thinking, it's time to get my groom back.
That's right. It's time to get your groom back. Brett Favre is now the pitch man for something called Micro Touch. It's a head to feet grooming product for men that, allows you to touch up certain areas, and you can see him in all of his glory. This ad looks like it's straight out of a public television studio. I don't know how they had the money for Brett Favre, but they clearly spent all their budget and didn't have any left for actually producing the damn commercial. But, it's awesome. What better spokesman can you have for that?
Oh, I'm just sitting there cracking up because I want to say Brett Favre, he's coaching high school football in Mississippi, right? Being around a bunch of high school kids, good luck, Brett. When you went back after that commercial aired, they ate him alive. Like, coach, so where you got to shave at again?
He's on a tractor in the commercial and everything. They played it up so bad.
I hope that every kid that was on that high school football team let him feel just like he would have when he was playing for the Packers and that commercial would have went through. Like, that is just so – I love it because – that's where I think NFL and athletes do so much for so many people. And it's kind of the thing that as a public, member of the public, nobody's knocking on my door saying, hey, Bo, I like how you teach. Here's $5,000, promote our product. But these guys really are like CEOs, they're pitchmen. And who knows, this micro grooming could make $1 billion and supply 50 jobs to some little area somewhere.
Yeah, or not.
Or not.
Now, a member of the Dolphins, after they absolutely trounced the Raiders in London, said a victory against the Raiders isn't even worth celebrating. Ouch. Well, I guess the Raiders front office heard that because they have announced that they have fired Coach Dennis Allen. Sperano has been named the interim coach, and the search is on for the next coach in Oakland.
Yeah, it's Dennis Allen's out, but I want to read you two names that he joined a short list with. And I was like, man, I would take a firing from the Raiders and a payout so I could be on this short list.
People with bowl cuts.
Lane Kiffin and Mike Shanahan. Also two guys that were fired about 4 games into the season. Lane, he's getting paid a whole truckload of money to call plays for Alabama, and we know what Mike Shanahan's been doing ever since 1988 when the Raiders cut him. He went and won a couple Super Bowls, and he did a pretty good job with the Denver Broncos. So,
you know what the problem with the Raiders organization is, Bo, is that this happens all the damn time. At Troy Machir from at Sporting News had this stat. Since 1995, the Raiders have basically changed head coaches every 30.8 games. You're not going to build a successful franchise in the NFL with that much coaching turnover. It's just not going to happen.
They're like a company that at one time, if you told somebody they would fail in the future, people would look at you like, "What are you? Are you dumb? Boy, what's wrong with you?" The only thing that can fix them, Sean, they have to be sold and move to a new market. And you're not going to convince me that the Raiders can survive in Oakland. I can't understand why we allow a team to be known. If you've listened to the show, you know I studied criminology. This is a well-known fact, FBI statistics. The Raiders jersey is the most widely used jersey by gangs and anybody who wants to call themselves a member of a mob. It's like it's what they do. And I was thinking, man, didn't we just go through a whole episode where the NFL was trying to clean up their image? Why don't we just go get the Raiders organization and do a whole cleanup with that? Just wipe them out of Oakland, bring them to Albuquerque. I'd go to some games. Take them to...
We don't need the increased crime that would bring to the city.
We don't need those people driving over here from Oakland and posting up in the parking lot and beating up people, right?
Now, Mark Davis briefly spoke to the media about the prospect of bringing back old Chucky, John Gruden, luring him out of the Monday Night Football booth and back out onto the coaching field. When he was asked about that and whether he would rule out contacting John Gruden, he said, quote, "I don't know. He may reach out to me. I may reach out to him. I may reach out to anybody. I'm not going to talk about future coaches."
Call me.
So, yeah, that's what they need, Bo. So
Sean, your defensive coordinator.
Okay, I think I can get behind this idea.
There we go.
Now, what we're going to see is just how deep the pocketbooks are, because that's what it would take. I mean, that is one of the cushionest jobs in sports, being on Monday Night Football as the color analyst. I mean, I don't know how many millions of dollars it's going to take to lure Chucky away from using the phrase Cobra ZY banana route, but I'm sure it's going to be in the multi-millions. So I
got to say this, Sean. Being around football my whole life, we know football players tend to get a little money under the table, right? So I could go do a camp in my hometown, and local businessmen, the school president, athletic director, I don't want to get anybody in trouble, they'll slide me cash, right? Could you imagine what kind of cash is slid Chucky's way when you think you have a quarterback that should be drafted in the first round, and you're like, man, if Chucky comes and does one of those segments with him on ESPN, on the bus, he's getting drafted. I would call Chucky up and be like, Chucky, I got $500,000 in a duffel bag. Get over here, buddy. I know he's getting paid.
So I don't know if I don't see it happening. I think Gruden stays as a broadcaster for now. He probably will return to coaching.
Here's the man you got to watch out for. This is the one I think has the itch. Tony Dungy. I just think when Tony's sitting in between Dan and
he says it every time on Dan Patrick's show. Whenever there's a coaching, you don't believe?
I don't believe.
You're calling
Tony.
the man a liar.
I don't believe Tony. He has that little grin on his face when they're like, "Well, maybe you'd want the job, Tony." He's like, "Yeah." That's the grin of, I'll stop grinning if the money's right. That's what that is. That grin will go back to a stern, let's play some football, boys. If they're like, we'll give you $6 million a year. That's what it'll take.
Big ups to Tony, by the way. He picked my Chiefs in that game.
Ooh,
smart man.
Got a new fan now.
Okay, the other big story around the NFL right now is an unnamed player was talking about how they don't like playing for Harbaugh, that he doesn't let them do stuff like listen to music on the plane or play cards or anything like that. And then Deion Sanders added to the story, said that he had a friend with the 49ers that basically echoed those sentiments, that they don't like playing for the man. And then Harbaugh was asked about it. He said it was, he thought it was total crap. And you had seen a little bit more on that, Bo.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I always look to the direction of a team from the offensive lineman. To the general public that's never been in a locker room, the quarterback seems like he's the leader. But that's only when the cameras show up, because he's the only guy pretty enough and has all of his teeth that they can put out there and make you believe he's the captain. But inside that locker room, I'm just going to tell you how it rolls. You got a quarterback that's about 6'4", 220 pounds. And then you got 12 guys that play 5 starting positions, and they're all about 6'7", 345. They are the guys who make the decisions. Those are the guys that people listen to. And Alex Boone, he's a guard, I believe, speaks out to Deion and all the haters and says, if you're not in our locker room, then keep our names out your mouth. And I like that kind of stuff. I coach football. I love when a player steps up and he takes ownership. Because if we remember, get in your time machines, roll back the clocks. I think Bush was still president. Harbaugh takes over a zoo. Singletary couldn't win there. If Mike Singletary cannot get people to get in order, you need a warden. Like, Mike Singletary is a scary guy.
It looks like a warden.
Yeah. So if you go from warden to Jim Harbaugh, I met Jim Harbaugh when I was a kid doing pump, pass, and kick. I made it to state, and he was a quarterback of the Colts. Let me tell you something. There were other NFL players who came in the room and spoke with the children, right? When Jim Harbaugh was speaking, all the kids paid attention. It was like Algebra 101 in high school.
It's those khakis. They demand respect.
They demand respect. And not listening to music on the plane, stuff like that, that could all be like little tic-tac things. Maybe that guy was trying to plug in his portable speakers and jam music all over the plane.
Let me ask you this, Bo.
Yeah.
If you're a player on a team that is successful, that is winning, Do you care about little crap like that, or do
No.
you just care about winning?
Rocky Long, I shut my mouth. Most games I ever won in football was playing for that guy. He had little rules like that because he was old school, but I respected him because before I met Rocky Long, I didn't win a lot of football games in high school or junior college. We won a few. It was one of those deals to where you understand maybe what he's making me do is exactly the reason we're winning. All that other stuff I was allowed to do under the other guys, that's why I was getting my butt beat every Friday and Saturday night. Whoever that player is who was spouting out, I guarantee he's one of those guys maybe it's an Alden Smith. He's in trouble all the time. Harbaugh's mad at him because he's out there smoking and getting DUIs. It never comes from a guy like I imagine Alex Boone is a part of the guys that does things how Harbaugh wants, takes his $900,000 check every game and says, you know what, my mom and dad used to have a job and their boss sucked too, but nobody was paying them $1 million to hit people. Like, that's where I think that some players just lose what they're doing. Go get a regular job. Everybody's boss sucks.
Yeah, I can say that again. All right, well, coming up on the show, Bo thinks the college top 10 is perfect. I wonder how Alabama fans feel about that. Plus, we'll go over all the action of Week 4 of the NFL, and in a new segment, I will absolutely demolish Bo as we make weekly Pete picks in the NFL from now until the end of the year. It's going to be a boat race, Bo, so you better come strong Week 1. It's coming up on the Sean and Bo Show. Once again, thank you for listening to the Sean and Bo Show. Are you following us on Twitter yet? The handle at Sean and Bo Show. It's a great way for you to keep up on what we're up to, what we're watching, all the sports we're digesting throughout the week before the episode comes, because not everything makes it to the show. So if you'd like to hear our takes in between episodes, definitely follow us at Sean and Bo Show on Twitter. Back to the show. Welcome back to the Sean and Bo Show. Thank you, beautiful people out there, for tuning in. There's a lot being made of the college playoff this year, Bo, in its inauguration. You, however, think that right now the AP top 10 is perfect.
Yeah, and Sean, it's going to be for reasons that really don't have to do with, I think this team's better than this team and all that. It's this that I'm pushing for more teams already. I can see where this is going.
It's going to happen.
You look at these games and how these kids are playing. I think, personally, quality of football in college right now is better than the NFL. And the only reason I think that's possible is because these kids are playing for something else now. There's teams with 1 loss, 2 losses. They're still playing as if they got that undefeated season in their hand. And when I looked at the top 10, I'm like, man, FSU, Oregon, Bama, Oklahoma, Auburn, Texas A&M, Baylor, UCLA, Notre Dame, Michigan State. Yes, I could change with the rankings. I would put Notre Dame higher. I would even put Michigan State higher than a few of those teams. But right there where it stops at Texas A&M, I think it's perfect. If that was a 10-team or like an 8-team playoff with 2 wild cards, they would make more money than the NFL could make in 5 years. I just think that America has more ties to colleges because we go to colleges. There's going to be more alumni that are going to be like, man, we got the playoffs coming. I think I could make it to the 4th game if we get past these 2 rounds. And we know, just like you said, Sean, it is going to grow. But looking at this top 10 and where we're at right now, I think this is what we're starting to see when we get into our NFL talk about power rankings and all this. You get into the 4th and 5th week of football, there's no more hidden magic show. You are what you are. You can't hide. If you don't have a good run defense, you just don't have a good run defense. If you don't have a good passing game, you just don't have a good passing game.
It's not going to suddenly materialize out of nowhere. It's like you are who you are at that point.
And looking at that top 10, I was just like, wow, that would be the greatest playoff man has ever constructed. I mean, and I think Bama has a tough one against Ole Miss this weekend.
That's going to be a good game, man.
Ooh, that's going to be a good one. But they're not going to fall outside of the top 10 if they lose that. The only thing that's going to happen is you're going to give Mississippi a little bit of juice, and they're going to start to tug on the heels of your teams like Michigan State with 1 loss who are hanging out there outside that top 10. But these teams that are in this top 10 right now, Sean, I believe that these are your only guys, with the exception of 1 or 2 SEC schools, that can still make a crazy push because you're going to have upset Saturday. It's going to happen. half of these schools are going to lose a game in the same
Well,
Saturday.
and you look at the upcoming matchups. Notre Dame, for example, they have Florida State and they have USC still
Yes.
to play. So you really don't know how the cards are going to be dealt quite yet in terms
agree.
where this is going to stack out. I think you're right though about the popularity of college football. You can see some of the traditions leaching into the NFL, like we've talked about earlier, the 12th man. That's from Texas A&M. The Seahawks didn't invent that. They saw a great marketing ploy and ran with it. So, yeah, I think you're right. And, apart from college football being sort of the feeder system for the NFL, it certainly has tremendous popularity onto its own. And that's only going to increase as we get the playoffs and then more teams in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bigger version of March Madness.
Yeah, and if you love college football like I do, and you got some time to kill, we're not going to put it on the show. Go to YouTube and look at the Air Force locker room celebration after they beat Boise State. That is just one of the most unique things. I felt like, I hate Air Force. I mean, literally, I played against them. I do not like that school. And I was getting all giddy. I almost started singing Air Force fight songs watching that. Check it out.
Now, you were saying something else to me before the show started, Bo. You think Charlie Weiss is proof that college athletes should be paid?
Oh,
please,
man.
Please expand on that.
The Charlie Weiss, ladies and gentlemen, for all of us that got to get up in the morning and go get our hourly wage, Charlie Weiss is owed 29 point something million, basically $30 million for being a failure. That's the equivalent to me looking at little Billy when he hands me in subpar homework and saying, you know what, little Billy, that's all right, because in this society, if you fail, you can be a millionaire.
Hey, they signed the contract. They made the deal. You're worth whatever somebody's going to pay you.
Yeah, you're worth whatever somebody's going to pay you, so that's why I'm all for every college athlete going after the money, because these boys were not paid like this at one time. There was a time in America when a college football coach was no different than a high school football coach. You're paid by the state to teach young men how to play a game. More importantly, teach them life lessons. You weren't out there to promote a university and make $5 million a year and take a deal from Chevy and Gatorade. That's only a product of what is going on the field. And yes, there are college football coaches that put their time in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and they are due what's coming to them. I'm just saying, in a sport that can afford to pay a man out for failing, they can afford to give a kid a leg up on life. That's all I'm asking for.
Listen to Bo. He's still salty about EA Sports.
Pay me.
Now, looking at NFL action before I totally annihilate you in Week 5 picks.
Good luck.
Yeah. Before that happens, Bo, let's take a little bit of a look at Week 4. There are a few games that kind of surprised you that you were looking at, and you're just kind of like, there are a lot of beatdowns, there are a lot of one-sided games.
Okay, and I want to say this. The beatdowns did surprise me. New York Giants, way to go. But that was against an NFC least team, so I don't know what to think.
That division is theirs for the taking, isn't it? I mean, it's between Cowboys and the Giants.
Yeah, Cowboys and Giants now. Dallas, good job. Great beatdown. You handled New Orleans. You look like a playoff quality football team. Kansas City, great job. But the one that I think was lost because of all the off-the-field stuff going on, and you've seen Steve Young get into a little spat there on Monday Night Football with Dilfer. Him and Dilfer kind of going back and forth. What San Francisco did against Philly, any other week we celebrate that. That Philly was a team that they had in the top 3 of the power rankings, and they beat them. And that's all that matters. You win the game.
See, I think they kind of fell into that victory.
You think so?
The Eagles capitalized on some of those goal line stands where they didn't score a single point. That game's.
But that's the game. And
Yeah, no, it's true. They won.
I just think that San Francisco is silently handling business right now. But with all that distraction, I want to tell people out there, your team is just on that edge of becoming the New England Patriots. My gosh, one loss, and I feel like they're going to try and run Harbaugh out of town. And I mean, look what he's done for them. And you're going to allow a win over a team that was in the top 4 of the power rankings a week before that you beat to be an insignificant win because you guys want to talk about, well, the coach isn't letting people listen into their headphones on the plane. That is stupid. Big win, but they have a bigger task in San Francisco because if these off-the-field distractions become on-the-field distractions, they'll be like every other team in that conference.
And who's rolling into San Francisco this week to challenge them?
Okay, here we go.
boy.
I knew we were going to go long before we hear that. Sean's over there keeping his fingers crossed that this continues for one more week and KC can get a streak going. What would that be, 3 in a row?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me tell you this before we get into the picks. Week 1, Chiefs lose bad. Jamal Charles touches the ball, about, I think it was 13 times, 11 times, something like that. Gets injured. They bring him back. They do great against the Dolphins. Then we had this, they almost beat the Broncos in week 2. It was a better showing than what they gave the Broncos either of the 2 games that they played them last year. And then we know what happened against the Patriots. So I think with the Chiefs, you're already seeing that they're getting better and better every game as far as I'm concerned. Biased as it may be.
If you want to go ahead and start talking about the running game, I love the running game being an ex-offensive lineman. I have 4 teams, and you'll be happy about this list because we're only happy when good things happen to us. Leading the list, Dallas. Second, Kansas City. San Francisco, and believe it or not, Minnesota Vikings make my list. And ladies and gentlemen, this list, I've been holding on to it all day, and I'm going to put it into a time capsule so I can bring it out.
List of what?
Just wait. This is a list of teams that are strikingly looking playoff ready. And this is the only reason why. When you look at the rest of the league, if you got ESPN or a smartphone, pull up rushing totals. These teams are not only rushing for over 100 yards, they're getting to 200. And they're not just doing it like, oh, we got lucky, somebody caught a toss and he broke a tackle, went down the sideline, and the defense was giving up. No, they are getting these yards 5-6 yards a carry, and they're doing it gritty. And I'm looking back at what has put teams in Super Bowl championship positions. You can win a Super Bowl if you do what, Sean? You run the ball and you play defense. And if these 4 teams, Jason Garrett, that's who I'm talking to, will allow the coordinators to call the plays and not get all crazy, just keep doing what you're doing.
Don't outsmart yourself.
Yeah, don't outsmart yourself. Keep doing what you're doing because the only team on this list that didn't win by more than 2 touchdowns was San Francisco, and they played a great opponent. Everybody else on this list got busy on Sunday night or Monday.
Okay, well, it's time for the new segment, time for me to beat Bo like a drum.
Good luck.
Now, why did we wait till week 5 to begin doing our picks and actually tallying them? And we're going to be doing week-to-week updates and let you know just how bad I do beat Bo by. It's just like I told our friend Clem from theclemreport.com. If you bet money or make picks before about week 5, it's a coin flip.
You're a fool.
You don't know, you don't know what the team really has.
Yeah.
So wait till they've kind of shown and proved, and then you can make your picks. And that's what we're about to do.
You're not investing in an IPO, people.
That's
if you're
right.
going to bet money, you need to have a good idea you're going to win.
Yeah, that's right. That's why we're such rich gamblers. Yeah. Okay, so without further ado, your week number 5 Thursday night game features Minnesota at Green Bay. Bo, who you got?
After my last segment, you'd think Vikings. I'm going with Green Bay. Bridgewater is not ready to take down the likes of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to side with Vegas on this one. Green Bay favorites by 9 according to the current consensus spread. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with you on that one. Green Bay. Next game, early Sunday, features Chicago at Carolina. Who you got?
I'm going with Mr. Newton, Carolina.
Oh, this isn't going to be very fun if we agree on everything, Bo. Okay.
You got Carolina again?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, next game, Cleveland at the Titans.
Cleveland.
Damn it, Bo. The spread is Titans by 1.5, but I, too, chose Cleveland.
There you go. Super smart men.
Rams at Philly.
Obviously, Philly.
Yeah, it's kind of a gimme. Philly. Next game. This one's a little tougher. The spread is, I won't tell you who the spread favors, but the spread is under 5 points. Atlanta at the New York Giants.
I have Atlanta going on the road and handling that tough environment.
I got G-Men. I think they're looking great. Larry Donnell, our buddy Clem at Clem Report, he's starting a campaign to try to get the nickname the Black Voltron to stick for Larry Donnell. So I'm gonna side with Clem and say
I loved Voltron when I was a kid.
And say the G-Men. Okay, Tampa Bay at New Orleans. New Orleans, of course, coming off that bad beat down by Dallas. Who you got in that game?
Okay, Tampa Bay.
Really?
I have this kid that I had to do homework on to find out where he's from. Glennon dropped all those yards, beat Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of going to go with them another week because they made me eat my own shoe last week.
Okay, I got New Orleans in that one.
Okay, we'll see.
I think they bounced back. I think Drew Brees can't be that bad 2 weeks in a row. Saints. Okay, next game. This one I know you've already been studying, Bo. It features the Texans at your Cowboys.
As you know, I am the toughest critic of Jerry Jones and his Cowboys, but I will take Dallas in this game.
I got the Texans. I think that they're totally outpacing the expectations of the year. I think that continues. Big game from J.J. Watt. They're going to get him more involved as a receiver again.
J.J. Watt can't play quarterback, though.
Houston wins. Okay, next game, you got your Bills at Lions. Spread in that game is 7 points. Won't tell you who.
I will take a Lion against a Buffalo any day.
Yeah, I will too, and that's the spread. Lions by 7. Let's see. Second to last early game. This one's going to be probably one of the best of the early games. Features the Ravens at Indianapolis. Bo, who you got?
You know I'm going with the Ravens.
Really?
Yeah.
Got faith in Steve Smith Sr.?
I already told you I think they're the best team in the AFC next to Denver, the second best team in the AFC to me.
They got to go into Indianapolis, as I said, and even though the spread's only 3.5 points, and that's usually the kind of home field advantage spread, I'm still going to go with Indianapolis.
I was so close to putting Indianapolis on my list of teams that run the ball, but the only problem is the guy who's doing all the bruising is Ahmad Bradshaw. He's 48 years old, I mean, compared to Trent Richardson, who's averaging, I believe, a 2.2 carries a game, he's no help for them. They need to get a second duo for him. They need to get a duo so Andrew Luck can start managing the passing game instead of worrying about making up for the negative yards on runs.
Well, okay, the last of the early games, I'm not going to mince words here. This one is just a straight-up stinker. It features the Steelers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yuck. Who you got?
Man, Pittsburgh, you're making me look silly. You better win this week. I got Pittsburgh.
All right, I agree. So we're going to both look really stupid if that doesn't happen. I say Pittsburgh wins by about a touchdown. Next game, here's another great game. Undefeated Arizona comes to Denver.
Got to go with Denver.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to, partly because I hate Denver, partly because I think Arizona has finally earned a bit of respect. And I'm going to go against the spread, which is Denver by, what is that, 6.5? I can't read my own handwriting. 6.5 or 8.5 points. I'm going to pick Arizona. Then my Chiefs travel to San Francisco. I'm taking my Chiefs, even though the spread is San Francisco by 6.5. Who you got in that one, Bo?
I thought the game was going to be an Arrowhead, but now that I know you guys are going to Levi Stadium, you better get your jeans ready, buddy, because they're going to whoop y'all. I'm telling you, they're going to whoop y'all. I'm sorry. I thought you guys were playing in Arrowhead this week. I just seen that.
No.
You
Look, I'm telling you, I think it's going to be close either way. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
I don't know. We'll see.
All right, so you're picking.
That's why we're making our picks.
You're picking the 49ers.
I'll put blowout next to that one.
Yeah, okay.
2+ touchdowns.
All right. Okay, next game, Jets, who are terrible, and they're sort of the reason why I did away with the segment of what games to watch, because I realized that if you're a fan of the Jets, you're going to watch the Jets whether they suck or whether they really suck, and you don't need me to tell you that. So in that particular game, I'm going with Mr. Bolo himself, Phillip Rivers. I think San Diego wins in a monster blowout.
Yeah, it's my fantasy quarterback. I got to pick him. Come on, you're not only taking care of the Chargers, you're taking care of the New Mexico Desert Sharks, Phillip.
Final game on Sunday features the Bengals at the Patriots. We know what happened last night, Bo. Cincy wins this game. It's not even close. Chiefs have exposed New England's flaws. You run the ball, you pressure the quarterback, you get a W. Bengals win.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Bengals win that big.
Funny thing about that game, when the line opened up, it was the Patriots by 1. It's by 1.5 rather. It's now shifted. The Bengals are the 1-point favorites. And your Monday nighter, the final game of the week that Bo will get wrong, features Seattle at Washington. Who you got?
Oh, this is going to blow everybody away. But I've been watching these Thursday night, Monday night games. I am picking Mr. Cousins and the Redskins.
You are insane, and that's why I'm going to win. Seattle definitely wins that game.
Good luck with that one, buddy. You just watch the Giants walk away from them, but that doesn't mean the next week Washington won't hang 40 on Seattle.
I'm gonna have 2 words for you next week, Bo. Scoreboard.
And I'll be saying week-to-week league.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Sean and Bo Show. We would like to thank our guest, Joey from Terezowens.com. Definitely check him out. We've been going there for our show prep and just to get some laughs for a long, long time. You'll enjoy it as well. Terezowens.com, on Twitter @TerezOwens. So until next week, I'm Sean O'Donnell, along with my co-host Bo Greer, reminding you, tip your pizza man.
See you next week.